how to tell apart Scottish-Gaelic and Irish-Gaelic, and yes, that is how you're meant to pronounce those two words in their different contexts. So in the British Isles, many different languages are spoken, and in certain parts of Scotland and the island of Ireland, so yes, that's Northern Ireland and parts of the Republic of Ireland, certain people speak one or more of the Gaelic languages. And these were brought over during the Dark Ages by people from Northern Ireland, specifically Dalriada, which was a kingdom that stretched over both parts of Northern Ireland, the province of Ulster, and parts of southwestern Scotland. And they brought over the language to the people who we assume were speaking a Celtic language, a different type of language, and that's why we have Gaelic in the Highlands and Islands of Scotland today, because of this Dark Age immigration. Now, it's also interesting that this language was brought over to the Isle of Man in between Ireland and Great Britain in the Irish Sea, and this is where the Manx language comes from, but I won't be covering that in this video. And these all together are known as the Gaelic Celtic languages. It's a fancy way of saying the Gaelic Celtic languages because the people from Ireland who came over the seas are known as the Gaels. Now, the P-Celtic languages are languages like Welsh, Cornish and Breton, the ones who were originally spoken on the main island of Great Britain, whereas Q-Celtic languages are ones like Scottish-Gaelic, Irish-Gaelic, known in Ireland as Irish, but I'll be referring to it as Irish-Gaelic so as not to confuse it with Scottish-Gaelic in this video, and Manx. But now, how do you tell Scottish-Gaelic from Irish-Gaelic? Because to the foreign eye, they look incredibly similar. They're those Celtic words, those annoying Celtic words that we just can't seem to pronounce at all. But in this video, I'm going to show how you can actually tell them apart quite easily just by looking at them. So I should also include that many parts of Ireland, they speak different variations and dialect of Irish or Irish Gaelic. So in the north, the main sort of dialect that's spoken there is Ulster, whereas in the west you have Connaught, and in the south you have the Munster dialect being spoken. And now it should be mentioned that the northern dialect, the Ulster dialect, is more similar to Scottish Gaelic, and speakers of Irish in the north might understand more Scottish Gaelic than ones from the south. And it's also true that speakers of Scottish Gaelic from Argyll or Islay, the island there, also have an easier time understanding Irish Gaelic than people from, say, more to the north in Scotland. Let's begin by looking at a Scottish Gaelic phrase that I will now read for you with my impeccable accent. Notice that in this phrase all of the accents are pointing the same way, and this is no coincidence because actually it's quite a recent development in Scottish Gaelic. The new grammar reforms have made it so that all the accents are pointing to the left, which is a big key indicator for seeing if something is Scottish Gaelic. Now let's have a look at a similar set of phrases in the Irish Gaelic languages and see if you can spot some of the differences, not only in my pronunciation, which is of course impeccable in both languages, as well as the accents and which way they're facing. As you can see, the accents in the Irish Gaelic language are pointing in the opposite direction to those in the Scottish Gaelic one. They are pointing to the right, and all accents in the Irish Gaelic language point to the right rather than the left. So this is another huge point if you're seeing a Celtic language that looks like it could be one either Irish or the Scottish Gaelic language. If they're pointing to the right, then it's Irish. So this is a great way to tell the two languages apart. If the accents are going left, it's Scottish Gaelic. If they're going right, it's Irish Gaelic. Now, one way you can remember this is that obviously if they're going right begins with an R, and Irish has an R, whereas Scottish Gaelic, or Scottish Gaelic, does not. So that's one way you can remember that. And it's very easy because most words do have accents in these languages. But what if they don't? Then there are some other tricks that you can use. So one is this nice distinction here, which is in the word shiv, which is the word for you in the plural form. So if I was speaking my own Geordie dialect, I'd say yous, which is like the you plural. Or in America, you might say y'all, that kind of thing. And the interesting thing is that in both Scottish Gaelic and Irish Gaelic, they are used as in the you, as in plural, as in yous or y'all, that kind of thing. However, in Scottish Gaelic, it's also used as the formal you form. Now in English, there is only one word for you, and no matter if you're addressing the Queen or your mate, you say you to that person. However, in other languages, like in French, you have vous, which is a formal kind of you, which you speak and you say to people when you are speaking to someone of a higher rank than you, or someone who's elderly, or someone for whom you have a lot of respect. So, for example, you have vous, or you have in Dutch, you have u and jij, in Frisian do and yo, in German du and sie, and in Spanish du and usted. And this is also the case in Scottish-Gaelic. You also have this, whereas in Irish-Gaelic, they don't have this at all. So you have a formal U form, which is shiv in Scottish-Gaelic, which is used fairly often, whereas in Irish-Gaelic, they just have the informal U form rather than an extra formal U form, which I thought was quite an interesting distinction. Another distinction that you can make is in the name of the language. So this is how you say Scottish-Gaelic, or Gaelic from Scotland to be precise, in Scottish-Gaelic. Now you'll notice that the H before Alba, which is the Gaelic word for Scotland, has got a hyphen and is lowercase, whereas Alba has an uppercase. Whereas if we look at the same thing, so also saying Scottish-Gaelic, but then in Irish-Gaelic, you'll notice there is no hyphen, and it's the same with the capital of Alban and the lowercase h. And this is because if there is a hyphenated h, which will be lowercase in front of a word, then it's Scottish-Gaelic, whereas in Irish-Gaelic, they don't hyphenate the h at all. So that's one distinction you can pull between the two. Hyphenated h is Scottish-Gaelic, whereas unhyphenated h before a capital is indication that it's Irish-Gaelic. And actually, once upon a time, both languages used to do both things, but as they've grown older and grown apart, they've grown more separate, and some things have been retained. Actually, Scottish-Gaelic is more conservative, so it's retained more of the old Irish forms, whereas New Irish, or Irish-Gaelic, as I've been calling it in this video, has gone on its own road more, which is interesting as these languages diverge, because they were once the same language. Now, an interesting thing is that these sound combinations and letter combinations will not be found in Scottish-Gaelic. AE, CS, CHT and BHF are all found in Irish words, but not in Scottish-Gaelic words. Now we can say the same about certain combinations in Irish-Gaelic. So SD, CHD and SG are all not found in Irish-Gaelic, but are common in the Scottish-Gaelic language. So that sounds like a lot to take in. So let's have a quick recap before it's quiz time. So, Scottish-Gaelic, the accents will point to the left, whereas in Irish-Gaelic, remember the R for Irish, accents point to the right, R for right. Scottish-Gaelic, you have a hyphenated H before a capital, then that's an indication that it's Scottish-Gaelic, because in Irish-Gaelic, they don't do that. It's just a lowercase h, no hyphen. Another is the formal U, the shiv, which is also used in Irish-Gaelic, but isn't used as the formal U, it's used as the plural U, just as it is in Scottish-Gaelic. And finally, these unique sounds to Scottish-Gaelic are SD, SG and CHD. So these are found in Scottish-Gaelic, but you will not find them in Irish-Gaelic. Whereas if you see the letter combinations SC, AE, CHT and BHF, that won't be in Scottish-Gaelic, that will only be in Irish-Gaelic. So take a moment to look at these, learn the letter combinations, remember which way your accents go, because, yes folks, it's quiz time. The rules are gloriously simple. Simply write in the comments 1 to 6 because there'll be 6 questions. Then you have to write either Scottish-Gaelic or Irish-Gaelic for each number depending on which language you see on the screen. Now you'll have 7 seconds to decide whether the phrases, which will be in order of course, are in Scottish-Gaelic or Irish-Gaelic. Good luck everyone. So, time for the answers. Now this one, the first one, was Scottish-Gaelic. Well done if you got that right, because the accents, they are pointing to the left. The second one as well was Scottish-Gaelic, because there are no accents on this one, a little bit more tricky, but you have the CHD combination, which isn't found in Irish Gaelic. Now the next one was actually Irish Gaelic, because the accents in this one are pointing to the right, and I actually said this one as part of my Irish Gaelic phrase earlier on in the video. The next one as well was Irish Gaelic, no accents again, so it's a bit tougher, but you can maybe tell because of the way that the Irish say Gaelic or Gaelic themselves is written on the screen there. And also, there was a double hint that you had the BHF, which is found in Irish Gaelic, but not in Scottish Gaelic. Let's not choke up on that word, it's a key one. The next one was Scottish Gaelic as well, because you had the SG, which is a bit hidden, it's in the middle of the word, but you don't find that in Irish Gaelic anywhere, whereas it's quite common in Scottish Gaelic. The last one was Irish Gaelic, because once again, the accents are pointing to the right. So in order, if you have Scottish Gaelic, then Scottish Gaelic, followed by Irish Gaelic, then Scottish Gaelic, and Irish Gaelic, then you had 6 out of 6, and you should be very proud of yourself. Well done. I'd like to mention in this point in the video that this video, the proceeds from this, from the advertising revenue, will go towards the Alzheimer Society. Now, my family has recently been affected quite severely by Alzheimer's, and several of my family members are doing the Great North Run, which is a marathon in the northeast near to where I live. And so I will link below if you would like to support the Alzheimer Society by giving a special donation there. Now you may be thinking, the Alzheimer Society, why on earth are you talking about that on a video about Irish and Scottish Gaelic and Gaelic? Well, one of the reasons is that it has been found by many studies and surveys that if you speak a second language, that actually the chance of getting dementia and then going into Alzheimer's is somewhat decreased, and it seems to be very beneficial. So I will also link below some websites and courses, etc., where you can learn either Irish Gaelic or Scottish Gaelic. Now, I'm a big upholder of minority languages as well, so I think if you're from either an Irish community or a Scottish community, then you should go off and try to learn the language as much as you can, because I think it's an incredibly important part of the culture and the heritage, and I would highly support anyone doing that to go off and learn more. If you enjoyed my little video today, which showed a tiny piece of the language, of course, and obviously I'm not fluent in any way, shape or form at either of these languages, as you can probably tell from my pronunciation, but I would highly recommend to go and do that. Now, the reason I thought I'd make this video about this and then talk about the Alzheimer Society and being able to support them is actually because one of those surveys and studies that I mentioned was actually done on retired people on the Isle of Skye, which is a traditional place where Gaelic is still spoken, I believe, and was certainly spoken for hundreds and hundreds of years. And the study that they did found that they had been teaching people on the Isle of Skye who knew no Gaelic whatsoever. They'd been putting them through intensive courses, and they found that even after just a week or so of doing these intensive language courses, that their brains were responding much better than those who didn't do it. So even in really old age, there's no excuse not to go and learn one of these languages, which I'm sure you'll agree, despite my pronunciation, are incredibly beautiful and worth preserving. So thank you very much. There'll be links down below to the Alzheimer Society if you'd like to make a special donation to help the members of my family who are also doing the Great North Run. The money, of course, goes to the Alzheimer Society, and it's like the funding them for going off and doing the run itself, and as well as to the language learning places where you can learn either Scottish Gaelic or Irish Gaelic if you so wish. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed how to tell apart Scottish Gaelic and Irish Gaelic, and I hope you were able to fathom my pronunciations and ramblings. So I really hope you do enjoy this video and share it around if you can, because of course every single view that is earning money now for the Alzheimer Society, which is going to help people out in the long run and in the future, because I think many families have been affected by this, and I thought I'd do something with my channel to help out if I can. So thank you very much for watching. Please do go and check out some of the language learning stuff as well if you want to learn more about Scottish Gaelic or Irish Gaelic. I've got many other videos about languages and history and whatnot if something catches your eye. And I hope you all have a fantastic day. I have been History with Hilbert, and I thank you very much for joining me on how to tell apart Scottish Gaelic and Irish Gaelic.